The air was thick with tension inside the modest bungalow in Lagos. Her belly strained against her worn wrapper, a quiet reminder of the life growing inside her. For a fleeting moment, everything felt ordinary, but not for George. "I've told you before, Amara," he said, his voice low and sharp from the doorway. "Stop giving our food to that beggar. We're not running a charity here. He's not just a beggar, George," Amara replied softly, turning to face him. Her eyes were gentle but resolute. "He's a person, a human being who hasn't eaten in days. That's worse," George snapped. "You don't even know him, yet you treat him like family while I slave away to put food on this table." Amara sighed, her hand resting on her belly. "My mother always said those who give never lack. Helping someone in need is never a waste. You never know who you're feeding," George hissed, shaking his head. "Your mother's sayings won't pay our bills. Keep this up, and one day I'll come home to find we've been robbed or worse. What will your wisdom say then?" Amara didn't respond. She couldn't change George's heart overnight. He hadn't grown up like her, steeped in her mother's lessons of kindness and faith. To him, compassion was a liability. That morning, 3 soft knocks sounded at the gate. Amara knew who it was. Quietly, she scooped a generous portion of jollof rice and chicken into a disposable pack and slipped out through the side gate. There he was, Obina, the homeless man with dusty hair, tattered clothes, and tired eyes. He gave her a weary smile. "God bless you," he whispered, his trembling hands opening the pack to eat right there on the sidewalk. Amara watched him, her heart swelling with quiet joy. Feeding him felt right, like a tribute to her late mother's memory. But as she turned to head back inside, she froze. George stood watching, his eyes blazing with fury. He didn't shout, not yet. He waited until she stepped inside. "You did it again," he said, his voice dangerously calm. "You gave him my chicken." "George, please," Amara began. "He was hungry. Only you dared disobey me in my house." His voice rose like thunder. "You're no longer my wife." "George, I'm sorry," she pleaded. "I didn't mean to get out." He roared, storming inside. Moments later, he returned with her small bag, stuffed with a few clothes, and shoved it toward her. "Since you love that beggar so much, go live with him." "George, please," Amara begged, clutching her belly. "I'm due any day now. You can't do this." "I don't care," he spat, his words cutting deeper than any blade. "Who knows if that child is even mine?" Before she could respond, he pushed her out the gate, throwing her bag onto the dusty ground. Amara stumbled, gasping as pain shot through her back. She collapsed to her knees, tears streaming down her face, too shocked to scream. Obina, the man she'd fed for days, stood a few feet away, frozen. Then, slowly, he approached, ignoring George's lingering curses from behind the gate. "I'm so sorry," Amara sobbed, clutching her stomach. "I didn't mean for this to happen." Obina gently helped her sit on a broken pavement stone. "You did what your heart told you to do," he said, his voice calm but carrying a new weight. "And I promise, Amara, you will never regret this." Confused, Amara looked up. His tone had changed, no longer the weary cadence of a beggar. Then, to her astonishment, he reached into his torn coat and pulled out a sleek, new iPhone. Her eyes widened. Was this real? He dialed quickly, his voice now commanding. "Yes, I'm ready. Bring the convoy to my location immediately." Within minutes, the quiet street hummed with the sound of powerful engines. A convoy of gleaming black SUVs rolled to a stop. Uniformed men with earpieces and dark shades stepped out, one opening a door and bowing deeply. "We're here, sir, sir," Amara whispered, her voice barely audible. Obina turned to her, his eyes softer now. "My name isn't just Obina. I'm Chief Obina Oki, CEO of O Holdings. They call me the Kingmaker. I've shaped nations and crowned leaders. For days, I walked these streets as a hungry man, searching for kindness, and I found it in you." Amara's world spun. The last thing she saw before fainting was George, standing at the gate, his mouth agape, frozen in shock. The polished SUV glided through a private road lined with manicured trees. Amara sat in the embroidered leather seat, clutching her belly, her mind reeling. Obina, now dressed in a sharp navy suit, sat beside her. "I know you're in shock," he said gently, "but everything will be okay." "Why?" Amara whispered, tears brimming. "Why are you doing this for me?" "Because you were the first person in 5 years to give me food with no expectations," Obina replied. "You gave me your best chicken when you had so little. That kind of heart is rare." Amara shook her head. George always hated that I helped people. He called it foolish. Then he never understood true wealth, Obina said sadly. The car entered a grand compound, a cream-colored mansion with towering columns and a golden lion fountain at its heart. Staff lined the driveway, bowing in respect. A maid opened Amara's door, and another brought a wheelchair. "I can walk," Amara protested, but a sharp pain in her belly stopped her. "From now on, you don't lift a finger," Obina said. "This is your home for as long as you want it. You and your child will never lack." Amara was wheeled into a world of marble floors, gold chandeliers, and rose-scented air. In a lavish bedroom, attendants draped her in silk and surrounded her with care. "You're safe now, madam," one smiled. 2 weeks later, Amara held her newborn son, Samuel Sam for short, meaning God has heard. His soft brown eyes and tiny fingers melted her heart. The birth took place in a private suite at a top hospital, funded by Chief Obina's foundation. George never called, never checked in. Amara learned he'd married a colleague days after throwing her out. Her heart ached, but she kissed Sam's forehead and whispered, "You have all the love you need now." 1 month later, Amara walked through the mansion's garden with Chief Obina, Sam sleeping in a stroller. "I still can't believe this is real," she said. Obina chuckled. "Life turns upside down when you least expect it." He stopped walking. "There's someone I want you to meet." A tall, well-dressed young man approached. "This is my son," Jonathan Obina said proudly. "He's just returned from France." Jonathan shook Amara's hand warmly. "My father speaks highly of you." It's an honor to meet the woman who reminded him of true humanity. Amara blushed. "Thank you." Jonathan peered at Sam. "He's beautiful." Obina placed a hand on Amara's shoulder. "You studied economics?" "Yes, top of your class." Amara nodded, surprised. "Yes, but I never got the chance to use it." "You will now," Obina said. "You start at O Holdings headquarters next week. Jonathan will guide you." 2 years later, Amara sat behind a glass desk, her nameplate reading Amara Okoye, Executive Director, O Holdings. Jonathan knocked gently, ready for the press briefing. Their eyes met, a quiet spark passing between them. Working closely, they'd grown closely, blooming naturally. When Jonathan proposed under the company garden's cherry blossoms, Amara tearfully said yes. Their wedding was a spectacle, with Chief Obina escorting Amara down the aisle. Fireworks lit the sky as Jonathan kissed his bride, the woman once discarded now radiant. 12 years later, Amara and Jonathan laughed in their car, driving to Sam's high school graduation. Sam, now a brilliant young man, had earned a scholarship to study medicine abroad. But Amara's phone rang, shattering the joy. Her face paled. "It's Sam," she whispered. "He's been kidnapped." Jonathan slammed the brakes. A message glowed on her screen. "You can't hide him from me anymore. He's my son. You'll never see him again." George, Jonathan growled. "After 12 years. Amara trembled. "Sam was in my womb when he threw me out. He's never met him." Jonathan sprang into action, mobilizing security. A tip from their daughter, Cynthia, gave them a lead. A black SUV with the plate KRD 411. Within hours, police stopped the vehicle at a checkpoint. George, older and arrogant, sat beside a driver, with Sam, confused and tense, in the back. "I'm his father." George barked. "You're not my father," Sam shot back. "I don't know you." Officers freed Sam, cuffing George. At the mansion, Amara ran to her son, sobbing as they embraced. "I thought I lost you," she cried. "Never, Mom," Sam said. A week later, George's trial dominated headlines. Convicted of abduction and abandonment, he was sentenced to 5 years without parole. Amara and Sam didn't attend. "We've moved on," Amara said. 5 years later, Sam, now Dr. Samuel Okoye, stood on a stage in a blue graduation gown, named Nigeria's best graduating medical student. Amara, Jonathan, and Cynthia beamed with pride. In his speech, Sam thanked his mother for teaching him kindness, and Jonathan, his true father, for raising him. Across town, George, freshly released from prison, watched on a flickering TV. When Sam called Jonathan Dad, George wept, alone in his regret. That evening, Amara called Chief Obina Papa as she shared that the president wanted to meet Sam, but then, an unknown caller George begged to see her. Against Jonathan's protests, Amara agreed, not for George, but for closure. At a press conference, George, broken and humbled, apologized publicly to Amara, Sam, and Chief Obina. "I threw away gold," he said, tears falling. Amara watched from the mansion, unmoved. Sam, when asked if he'd meet George, refused. "Jonathan is my father," he said firmly. Years later, Sam, now a renowned surgeon, saved the president's daughter in a risky surgery, earning a national honor. Again, George watched from afar, clutching an old photo of Amara, whispering, "I lost everything." But fate wasn't done. A letter arrived, addressed to Amara, from George. It revealed a buried secret. Amara had a daughter, born during a mysterious illness in university, hidden by her strict aunt, and given up for adoption. A young woman named Hope, a lawyer, had found George, seeking her mother. Amara was stunned. "I never knew," she whispered. Investigations confirmed Hope's identity. At a quiet garden restaurant, mother and daughter met. Hope's embrace healed years of unknowing pain. "I didn't know," Amara sobbed. 6 months later, Hope joined the family, her legal expertise expanding Chief Obina's foundation. At a national event, Amara spoke. "I was thrown out for feeding a hungry man. But kindness always returns, multiplied beyond imagination." George, watching from his lonely room, closed his eyes. "I lost gold," he whispered, "and the world sees it shine." What are your thoughts on this story? Where are you reading from? If you enjoyed it, please comment, share, and subscribe for more heartfelt tales. Amara, now 52, stood on the stage in a simple but regal gold ascot, her silver-streaked hair pulled into an elegant updo. Beside her stood Jonathan, still handsome, still holding her hand like they were newlyweds. To her left, Hope, the daughter she never knew she had, now a high court judge at 41. To her right, Sam, 39, Nigeria's youngest ever Minister of Health, his wife and 2 children beaming in the front row. Cynthia, 35, the baby who once gave the vital car plate number, was now a world-renowned documentary filmmaker, her latest film about the foundation premiering that night. Chief Obina, Oki, 91, frail but pied, sat in a wheelchair at the center of the front row, a proud smile on his face. The hall rose in a standing ovation when Amara began to speak. 25 years ago, she said, her voice steady and warm, "I gave a plate of jollof rice and chicken to a man I thought had nothing. That single act of kindness cost me my marriage, my home, and almost my life. But it gave me everything you see tonight." She turned to Chief Obina. "Papa, you taught me that real wealth is measured by the number of lives you lift, not the zeros in your bank account." The old man's eyes glistened. Then Amara looked straight into the live television cameras. "Some of you have asked me over the years, do I ever think of George? Do I hate him?" A hush fell over the hall. "I don't hate him," she continued softly. "Hate would mean he still occupies space in my heart. That space belongs to my husband, my children, my father-in-law, and the millions of women this foundation has rescued from abuse, poverty, and despair." She paused. "But I will tell you what happened to George, because some stories must be told to the end." The giant screens behind her lit up with a photograph most people had never seen. An elderly man in a modest priest's collar, standing in front of a small orphanage in Enugu. After prison, Amara said, George disappeared. No one knew where he went. For years we heard nothing. Then, 10 years ago, a letter came to the foundation. No return address. Inside was a bank draft for 5 million naira and a short note, "For the girls. I have no right to sign my name." Every year after that, on the exact date I was thrown out, another anonymous draft arrived. Always 5 million. Always the same note. She smiled gently. 2 years ago, Hope, being the stubborn lawyer she is, traced the payments. They led to a tiny orphanage run by the Franciscan brothers in the hills of Enugu. The priest in charge was registered under a new name, Brother Raphael. When Hope showed him my photograph, he wept for 3 days. The audience was silent. George had become a lay brother. He cooks, cleans, and cares for abandoned children, many of them girls born to teenage mothers who were thrown out, just like I once was. He has taken a vow of silence on all matters concerning his past, but he asked the superior to pass on one message if we ever found him. Amara's voice softened to almost a whisper. "Tell Amara the plate has been returned 1,000 times over. Tell her I finally understand." She let the words settle. "I don't know if I will ever see him again. Maybe one day, when Papa Obina joins our ancestors and we lay him to rest, I will go to that orphanage and place a plate of jollof rice on the table. No name, no words, just the food. And maybe, just maybe, he will know the circle is complete." Chief Obina raised a trembling hand. The entire hall stood again as he spoke for the first time that night. his voice surprisingly strong. "My daughter," he said, looking at Amara, "you fed a beggar, and you fed a nation. Never stop." Amara stepped down from the stage, knelt in front of his wheelchair, and rested her head on his lap, like a little girl. Later that night, high above Lagos, fireworks spelled out 5 simple words in the sky.